What's up, guys? Dr. Jody, your Holzer PT here at Bodyworks Physical Therapy. Today we're going to talk about two different types of squatting: quad dominant squatters, or if you're a hip dominant squatter. So you're going to see two different variations typically in the gym. My quad dominant squatters will have a ton of mobility, and you'll see them sitting up really high. If I've got a lot of mobility and my knees are tracking well beyond my toes, I'm likely to use my quad muscles more to drive out of that squat. That would be my quad dominant squatter. Now my hip dominant squatter is going to send the hips back more, and as they come upright, they're going to send their hips forward and drive their motion through their hips. Now you're not going to isolate one or the other, quad or hip, you just might be more dominant in one muscle group. So again, hips kind of sit back here, quad dominant squatters sit here. Now, my quad dominant squatters tend to have a little bit more ankle mobility, meaning I can bend a ton at the ankle. The problem with that is if I'm constantly squatting here, I'm putting a lot of stress on the front of my knees. So your quad dominant squatters will typically say, when I squat, I never feel it in my butt. My butt's never sore on squat days. I always feel it here, and I potentially have a little knee pain down at the bottom. Now, my quad or my hip dominant squatters, they're going to be your ones that kind of fall forward when they squat, and they say, my ankles just feel really stiff. I tend to drop my chest down. How can I get that chest up tall? And we usually have to go look down the chain again at the ankle to make sure that that ankle's nice and mobile, and that we can change our positioning based on what's happening right here, not so much at the knee or the hip. So if you tend to not have any soreness back in that glute region and you're a quad dominant squatter, you can change it up by doing, say, box squats, to where I've got a bench or a box behind me. I'm sitting back to that box so I can load my glutes more. Or cue yourself, hey, I'm not just gonna bottom out every time I squat. I'm gonna lift those hips up and make my glutes load and work a little bit more. So just identify the two different types of squats for you, especially if you're coaching, if you're training, if you're a PT. Watch your athletes and see where they're at. If you are an athlete, assess yourself. Am I quad dominant or am I hip dominant? And if you want to work the other muscle group, make those little changes in movement, whether it's I'm changing my exercise or I'm working on my mobility to target the other muscle groups.